Okay. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Another new interview for 2025. Introducing my next guest on my radio shows and podcasts. Taking time out of her schedule, we have the lovely Scarlett Whincup joining me right here, right now.
Thank you.
Firstly, welcome to my show, Scarlett. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Danny?
I'm good, thanks. I'm going to hand over the reins to you. I'm just going to ask you, please, can you just tell me and my listeners just a little bit about yourself, like where you're based currently and like your musical background and how you got into, like, say, performing on stage.
Yeah, definitely. I'm based in Yorkshire, born and bred Yorkshire lass, and that's kind of where I'm residing at the moment. I'm in Halifax, so kind of central in there. Yeah, I've been singing for 25 years. Managed to start out on the circuit at the very wee age of 13. I was very young. Thankfully, my mum was a singer, or is a singer as well.
Mm.
She sort of started out on the circuit herself, but she was always very nervous. So I started joining her, started getting up with her, and eventually formed a duo. A few years later, then went solo, and it kind of all stemmed from there, really. Listened to all sorts of music, and to be fair, started singing at the age of 6. My very first time of singing was on a karaoke at the top of a mountain in Switzerland. So,
Oh,
so that was one of the very first times. There is a recording of that somewhere, but I don't have that. I think that's definitely with my mum securely. Um, and yeah, so always went to like folk clubs, was very much sort of musically minded,
mm.
and that's kind of where it all started. And then started on the circuit, really doing all sorts of genres. Um, really into rock and roll. I'm a jiver, so I love to dance,
Yeah.
love to do the jiving. So that was really good. And then kind of realised that I kind of have a love for country music.
Yeah.
So the last 5 or 6 years, really started getting into the country music side of it, which is kind of where things are going now.
That's amazing. That's a great musical background. Love the story about the singing karaoke on the top of a mountain cliff. I think I tried that once on the top of a ski slope, and you do get some great acoustics.
It was in a bar. I will say that it was in a bar, but it was up a mountain in Switzerland. My mum will be able to tell you exactly which mountain it was as well.
Ah, wonderful. Right, and modern country as well. It's really accelerated when you look at the charts at the moment. So there's
Yeah.
some greats on there. Even Lainey Wilson recently quoted that country music is cool again.
Yes, definitely. That is one of her songs. Yeah, I do sing some of hers. And yeah, Country's Cool Again is definitely one that's up there on the list for me to learn. And it's fab. She's really sort of taken the world by storm at the minute. She's absolutely amazing, and she is fantastic. But there's loads of country artists out there at the minute. I've, like I say, got into sort of modern country about 5, 6 years ago. Um, but then realised that actually the majority of the music that I sang anyway had some sort of form of country
Mm.
background or some sort of country within it anyway. Um, Going back to when I very first started singing with the likes of your Shania Twain and those kinds of people, and your Miley Cyrus, who was around when I was obviously growing up. So there's always been an element of country in my background, um, but I've never kind of gone sort of, I suppose, if you like, sort of hardcore country, really into it, apart from the last 5 or 6 years. But I absolutely love it. It's brilliant.
And a little birdie tells me you have a new single out called "Where I'll Stay," and I
Yes.
noticed you did mention, like, say, on the onset of the interview, like your gigging experience, being on the circle. How was the transition from being like a gigging musician to a singer-songwriter? Did you How was that being like plunged into the deep end into that pool of musicianships?
Yeah, it's I'm still getting my head around that one at the minute. I'll be honest, it's a very surreal thing to be able to do, but it's something that I've wanted to do for quite some time, but never had the courage to put myself out there, if that
Hmm.
makes sense. You know, that fear of criticism and that fear of rejection, I suppose. So I've never really wanted to put myself out there, and I've kind of seen a lot of UK country musicians pushing themselves at the moment and doing really, really well. And it's kind of really spurred me on, you know, people that I know, people that are friends of mine, and people that are kind of, you know, I've seen around on the circuit, and suddenly they're really starting to break through. And it's all because of their own music, because of their original stories. And sort of partly that, I went to Nashville in March and had some chats with some songwriters out there over, you know, the stories are in there. You've got the stories. It's just about getting them out. So that was really, it kind of gave me the push then to say, do you know what, actually, let's have a go at this. Let's try this. Let's try getting my own music out there. It's time now. I've spent 25 years singing other people's music. I've got a lot of knowledge of music in the background. So now it's time to actually try and turn that into my own style and really get my own stamp on it as well, and try and take some of my own inspirations into my music, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And as a performing artist as well, is it good to have that extra bow, you know, to mix and match, you know, when you say to the audience, this is actually my own song? And how's the reaction been to Where I'll Stay when you're performing?
It's been fab. It's been really, really positive, really positive. To be honest, you know, I have regular venues that I gig at, as well as obviously the new venues that are coming in all the time. But like my regular venues where I have people that have known me for years, and I'm now saying, right, this is my own song. I'm gonna sing my original and tell them that it's been released and things. And it's getting an absolutely fantastic response. You know, people are really enjoying it. I did a gig just between Christmas and New Year, and saw a spike in the Spotify listens after I'd performed it at the gig, which was absolutely amazing because I'd performed it and then people had gone to listen to it on Spotify, which is, it's really pleasing for me that it's been taken on so well. I've had a line dance class, a lady who runs line dances, who I do sing for, but she sent me a message saying, I played it for the class and we just loved it so much that we had to make a dance for it. So they've made a line dance, and I've had other people who are radio DJs, specifically in country music, who said that it's the kind of song that will, you know, appeal to the traditional country listeners as well as the modern country listeners. So it's really been sort of embraced. And that's such a nice feeling to have it embraced, especially with it being the first one. Yeah. It kind of gives me the spurring to do more now.
Sure. And I've got to ask, what's the meaning behind the song?
So I suppose there's, you know, everybody talks about the grass being greener, and we've all done it, haven't we? Yeah. We've moved house, we've taken on new jobs, we've done all sorts of things, and it's kind of a little bit of that grass isn't always greener kind of vibe to it, in that, you know, you go out there, you're looking for something, you're always looking for something new, you're always looking for something better. We always say, you know, you always want what you haven't got. But then the idea of it really is going out there and looking for it, but actually finding out that actually you were happiest where you were, and actually the things that mean the most to you were the things that were there at the start anyway. So that's kind of the meaning behind the song.
I did Google the phrase. I like looking at like English like phrases and idioms, and I put the grass isn't always greener meaning into like, you know, the search engines, and it says it suggests that things are often seem better elsewhere but may not be, and it serves as a reminder to appreciate what you have instead of yearning for something that appears superior. Would you say that's a fair analogy of?
Yeah, I would definitely say that's definitely a fair analogy. You know, talking about you know, here I'll stay is sort of the end line, basically saying I need to stop going out and searching. It was always here all along. So yeah, definitely. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can still reach for the stars and you can still look for more opportunities, but appreciating what you've got, basically.
Yeah, just a fine line, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Sure. Here's a note I made you might find interesting. After I listened to Where I'll Stay, the next single which popped on the playlist was The Beautiful South Rotterdam. Was that the vibe that you were trying to aim for, you know?
Do you know what? It's not actually, but I was singing the other day and somebody asked me if I'd sing some Beautiful South. So there's obviously something in I don't know if it's in my voice or something there that has a sort of similar tone to that. But yeah, Beautiful South have been people I've listened to over the years, and I know a lot of people I've never actually sung any Beautiful South,
Ah,
funnily enough, but listened to them and always enjoyed listening to them.
mm,
And no, it wasn't particularly an inspiration sort of
ah,
for this song, but no, I can see where that kind of vibe
yeah.
would come from.
I guess they're Yorkshire based as well, or Paul Heaton was based in Hull.
Yes, yes,
Ah,
definitely. So I suppose it is a sort of location specific.
sure. So I do find like analytics interesting though, on that observation there. And with Where I'll Stay, have you managed to do like a music video to accompany it?
So I have started music video to
Yeah.
it. I haven't completed it yet. I took an opportunity when I was abroad. Um, I'd gone over to Cyprus and I did some singing out there as well as a little bit of a holiday at the same time. And took the opportunity while I was out there to actually go and do some on location shooting for the video, knowing that this was coming out. So when the song talks about the fields, the red fields, and the million shades of red, we managed to go out and actually do some shooting in the alternative place, not the home place, but the alternative
Mm.
place. And we do have a storyboard for the actual video, but it's not quite come to
Yeah.
fruition as of yet because we wanted to get the song out there and get that going first of
Yeah.
all. But yeah, it's half recorded and the rest of it has been planned, just not actually done yet.
It's all good experience. I know, like with the music videos, the location scouting and then putting together storyboard. I don't think people realise the input that you have to put into these things sometimes.
Yes, there's quite a lot that goes into it. I did some showreel work earlier in the year as well in August for the cover music that I do. One of which being one of Lainey Wilson's songs. And, they talk about the B-roll and all of the other shoots that they do, which are actually nothing to do with you singing. And the work that goes into it is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think people, myself included, until I'd done the show reel and got the storyboard for this one together, quite realise actually not necessarily the recording of you and the song, but all the other little bits that go with it.
And so with Where I'll Stay, will this give you like motivation to release more singles along the line this year?
Yes, definitely. I have also already inquired with my producer in terms of timings and dates when we're both available for looking at the next project.
Yeah. And do you enjoy working with fellow like-minded musicians as well?
Absolutely. Do
Yeah.
you know what? I get so much from other musicians because although I'm a singer and I am a guitarist, I'm not an expert guitarist by any means, and I would never profess to be. It's getting better all the time, and certainly getting better with my own music coming out as well. Um, but working with other people, and actually, my producer Ben Haynes is just amazing. So I can give him an idea, and I kind of know how I want things to sound, and I know where I want him to go with it, and I can say that to him, and then he just kind of goes, "What, a bit like this?" And I'm like, "Yes, just like that." So actually, and I think again, doing it the first time when we first started on the song, I was probably a bit hesitant and took my lead from him. But one of the songs that's in the pipeline, I've got a very clear mindset of how I want it to
Mm.
sound. So I think going in, I'll be a bit more confident this time to say, actually, this is how I want it to sound. So no, I'm looking forward to the next one.
That's good. And I know it can be quite challenging, songwriting because people do have like, creative slowdown, artistic roadblocks and so on. But when you work with like fellow musicians as well, that does help.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Getting their ideas, their
Mm.
inspirations, their twists and turns and things and their, like you say, when you get stuck on a particular thing or something just doesn't quite sound
Yeah.
right and just getting their opinions on it is definitely important.
Well, I studied music performing arts at college, and we did like a songwriting class. And
Wow.
one of the helpful things was, this is just coming back to me randomly, was brainstorming, and that really helped, put in the bare bones of the song in place.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's always good to kind of have that idea. And I always remember I was in year 5 at school, and I always remember we were doing a poetry unit, and I wrote my poem. I was really pleased with my poem. I loved it. It was great. And she came back to me and said that it wasn't a poem. And I had to go back and I had to change a particular line because it didn't kind of follow the pattern of the poem. And I was like, but it does. It is a poem. It works. It's great. And I was adamant that I love this poem. I couldn't tell you what it is now. I just remember this feeling of this poem being great. And actually, when we looked into it, because I went home and told my mum that this had been said, and when we looked into it, it was because it followed more of a song structure than it did a poem. And I'm kind of now, 30 years later or whatever, looking back and thinking, well, actually, maybe back then I already had a little bit of a songwriter in me because I was coming up with the ideas and writing the poetry, but I was doing it more of a song than a sort of a poem stanza, if you like.
Yeah, because I know poems as well. They do say like poems rhyme, but in songwriting, there's no right or wrong answer. You
No.
can make the next line, make the last word kind of sound alike, but it doesn't necessarily have to rhyme.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something I'm kind of having to come to terms with as well.
Yeah,
Because you do have it sort of drilled into you about poetry and about rhyming and even in songs, making it rhyme, but there are near rhymes and there are other words that you can put in there.
yeah,
So yeah, like you say, make it sound like it rhymes. Or sometimes just not at all, go
yeah,
completely off piece and have it completely
yeah.
different.
Poetry in motion. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool. And
there's a song there somewhere as well.
yeah, there is. Yeah, you got it. Onto your gigs as well. What do you enjoy about just performing in live music venues across the country?
It's always been the performance for me, and it's always been the audience response. I love sort of getting involved with the audience, asking them what kind of stuff they like, what kind of music they want, and that interaction with the audience. And that for me is what I enjoy the most. I enjoy the performance out of it.
Mm.
I enjoy the music. Don't get me wrong, I love the music and I love the songs, especially ones that have got a particular meaning, and really sort of get to the heart of it. But for me, it's about putting on that performance and putting on that entertainment and entertaining people and making people happy and making people enjoy what you're doing. That's where it
Yeah.
comes from for me.
The buzz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely the buzz. Yeah.
Right, that's great. Where's best for people to follow you, like, for your your gigs and also, your original music as well.
Definitely. So, obviously, all my gigs are posted on my website. So the country music and the original music, Scarlett with 2 T's, scarlettsingscountry.co.uk is the best website to get me at. And then, to be fair, my Facebook is usually the best place to sort of follow me, interact with me. And that one is the handle for that one is just scarlettSings.co.uk, not the
Yes,
country
yeah.
bit. So yeah, scarlettSings.co.uk, and you'll find me on Facebook. scarlettSingsCountry.co.uk is the best one for the website. Now, I am on TikTok and I am on Insta. So you can find me on those as well. But I probably don't post as much on those as I do on Facebook and on the website.
That's great. Well, thanks for hopping on the show to talk about your music as well. I'd just like to personally thank you for that and wish you a continual blessed career and best wishes with your latest endeavours for the rest of the year as well.
Thanks ever so much. Thanks for having me on, Danny. It's been an
Yeah,
absolute pleasure.
been great speaking with you.
Thanks, loving.
Yeah.